Hi, I'm Merlin Depta from Team Serpent Europe, and I'm going to show you how to set up your clutch with your new Xceed RC clutch gap tool. What you will need is, of course, your engine with the mounted clutch. You only have to mount it without any shims, just put it together, and the rest of it you can measure and fix when we work with it. So the next thing is, of course, our clutch gap tool. You also need a caliper, a 10mm hex wrench. This is a kind of tiny tool we used to have in our kits some years ago. It's for removing the nut of the spring. Also a remover for the flywheel. 2.5mm Allen wrench. And another flywheel tool you will use to hold the flywheel when you remove the 10mm nut. You can also use a big pair of pliers. It will be the same. So let's start our measurement. You take your engine, and the first thing you need to take out of the clutch for measuring the clutch gap correctly is the big radial bearing. So you take your 2.5mm Allen wrench, unscrew the clutch bell, and I only have to take out the thrust bearing because it's a little bit hard to get off the big radial bearing. I have to put it back on again. We leave the small bearing inside because we have a little bit, or we need a little bit radial orientation. So this is really important for our measurement, or for accuracy of our measurement. You tighten the screw for the clutch bell, just hand tight, and then you can take your tool. It's pretty easy. We have the arm grabbing below the second gear pinion, and I would just name it pin. I don't know. The pin is just pushing above or at the screw, so that as a result you have the clutch bell is pulled up. Just put it on like this. And it's sitting really tight. You can switch on it here. Okay, and now you take 4 fingers. It's pretty important to do it as correct as possible, and just to take care of pushing it down, or pushing the clutch bell down in the right direction. So just take your 4 fingers, your middle and pointer finger, and push down the clutch bell, and you will measure 0.93. So this is pretty accurate measurement. So 0.92 and 0.93 is our gap at the moment. I always use 0.6 millimeters, so we have a difference of 0.3 millimeters in our clutch gap. We want to fix now. And what you do next is you have to add some shims. I always add shims when I have time enough. I always add the shims below the cone, because many people, I mentioned this because many people start adding shims above the thrust bearing, and while you're doing this, if you have too many shims up there, it's like a kind of spring, making your clutch not punching. It's getting weird to drive, and the clutch is not like, you know, it's not a tough clutch. Yeah. So just make sure that you add shims below the cone. Mention 3/10 of a millimeter. I always took out of my shim box the shim, and I'm going to add it now below the cone. So I have to unscrew the clutch valve, remove the whole assembly. I'm taking my, I don't know what it's called, it's nut driver, I don't know. Put it on my clutch, remove the spring and the clutch shoe, like this. The flyweights, of course. And now the flywheel. So I put on my tool, take my 10mm hex wrench, and this is really tight. It has to be really tight because you don't want to lose it in the race or during a race. And just make sure that it's tight enough, but don't make the crankshaft break. That would be a mess. So pull down the flywheel like this. Take down the cone and this small shim. You have to put it back on again, but I always make like only the big shims at the engine side, and then the small shims on the rest. At the cone, put back on the flywheel, tighten the nut of the flywheel, just make sure that it's really tight. Put on your flyweights like this, and again the clutch shoe, the nut for the clutch shoe. Tighten it as far as you can see the nut of the flywheel. Yeah, this won't cause a failure while you're doing your measurement, because the clutch bell cannot touch the nut. Often many people forget this and just leave the nut for the spring too far outside, and then yeah, you cause you can cause a failure. So don't do this mistake, and try to tighten this as far as you can see the nut of the flywheel. Put back on your clutch assembly without the big bearing, because you want to measure again whether you did the right thing to fix your clutch gap. Tighten it hand tight. Put back on your clutch gap tool and watch the digital indicator, and we have 0.62 millimeters. So 2/100 of a millimeter above our goal is okay, I think. This is the first step, and the second step we're going to do now. Now let's come to the end play. For the end play, of course, you have to install everything back again. So the big radial bearing has to be mounted together with the small aluminium spacer. I put it on here, aluminium spacer. The small radial bearing is inside our clutch bell, still from the measurement. And yeah, you tighten the screw. For the end play, you want to reach a gap or a play around 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters. So you already can feel it. It's way too much. So I take off again the clutch bell. Just put on a few shims I have here. Put back on the big radial bearing. washer and mount everything. Now you can already feel it's really tight, or it's really close. The gap is really close. So you put on your tool again when you have everything mounted. Set it to 0 if you switch it on. Set it to 0 and then measure the gap. It's 0.12 millimeters. So our clutch gap, or the end play, is almost perfect. You can leave it at that point. If you need to fix it, if there's a need to fix it, either you put in shims to minimize it, or you take out shims to make it bigger. So yeah, your clutch is now fully set up, and yeah, you can use it on the track. Thanks for watching.